I'm calling Clayton Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I rise on behalf of New Zealand First to take a short call in support of this New Zealand Superannuation and Retirement Income Amendment Bill. And to be fair, it's not something that I'm part of in Select Committee, but it's only taken 5 minutes to pick up on the fact that this makes common sense. To be honest, Mr Bennett, you remind me of the theme song from Team America. You know, I'm so lonely sitting over there, the rest are so far away from all of your teammates. You're not making a lot of sense, and you don't make a lot of sense like Alistair Scott and Mr Bailey as well. But in actual fact, I'm actually in support of your bill, so what are you yelling at me for anyway? You are very lonely and a confused man, I have to say. To be fair, Mr Speaker, Mr Chair, there is some serious need and some investment required to get the right people looking after our hard-earned money that we're investing for our future. 4 to 8% of our money we put aside, many of us, sometimes more than that, to go into the Cullen Fund, which was created by Dr Michael Cullen, to look after the future of New Zealanders. And I have to say that the FIV, and this bill also uses a language, in my opinion, that's actually very easy to grasp, although there is an ambiguous term when I look at Part 1, Section 38, Number 2, and they say the fund, its explicit purpose is make it not an entity separate to the Crown. You have to sort of say that over your head a couple of times. That's probably about the most ambiguous part of the whole bill. What it's actually trying to say, Mr Speaker, is that that fund is very much part of the Crown, a very, very important part of the future of New Zealand. So we support that as well. When they talk about FIVs and acronyms, as we all love and hate them back home, if anybody's watching back there, I'm sure many of you are, fund investment vehicles. And that's just a pretty way of looking at the word, the guardians, the people looking after those funds, to actually be able to look at ways that they can actually get better returns for those hard-earned Kiwi dollars going into investments. And when we heard Russell Norman speak about this initially, way back, when it was first discussed in the first reading, he was talking about his concerns with the government's interference of where those investments are going to go. And to be honest, you know, the reality is he doesn't want it to go into exploration or gas or mining. Well, the reality is where we can get the best investments for the future of New Zealanders is where we should be seriously looking at putting it. We are getting some fantastic returns on investment, around that 19% mark, and that is absolutely fantastic, and we hope that that continues. Obviously, with the Greece debacle at the moment, the interests and share prices have dropped along with our Kiwi dollar, and I hope the Kiwi dollar can come down some more yet. The purpose of the fund is as a fund protection and to return as much as we can to those superannuitants. The point being, and one of the things that I commend the most in this bill, is the supplementary order paper, which takes away the minister's ability to interfere with that fund and decide when or whether it's a good investment or not. Because the reality, you need to put a firewall up to create some separation between those guardians, those investors, those people that are looking after New Zealanders' hard-earned money, those investments, and put them into the right location. So I commend the Minister for taking out that section, putting in the supplementary order paper 89 and deleting that section completely. Mr Speaker, this is a bill that we'd like to see progress. We think it sits well for the best part of all New Zealanders, despite the confusing remarks we've had from over the other side. My method, they don't understand their own bill and clearly haven't read it. And to be fair, it does make sense. Those people sitting back home can rest assured that their investments are being looked after and are getting those very good returns. And as Porky Pig famously said one day, that's all, folks.
Mr Chair.
Point of order, Paul Foster Bill.
Thank you, Mr Chair. My point of order, I didn't want to interrupt the member while he was speaking, but the member referred to viewers at home, which I'm still a relatively new member, but I believe that is out of order, Mr Chair, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Oh, I don't think it is. It's not. No, I've often heard members talking about drive time when they're driving in the traffic in places like Auckland. So I've never heard that that is out of order. It's certainly not a ruling that I've made in the past, and I'm not going to uphold it. So I'm calling Ian Lees-Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. It's